What if I told you that on day 2 of week 2 in Bahrain we saw something that could force all teams to redesign their aerodynamic concept even before the first Grand Prix? Ferrari didn't just bring an update. It was not a simple efficiency improvement. What Lewis Hamilton put on the track was a rear wing that literally turns around on the straight. It doesn't open, it breaks. It doesn't download a bit, it eliminates almost all the drag. And the most disturbing thing of all is that it is completely legal. Frédéric Vasseur hinted that this is not an isolated experiment, it is an extreme interpretation of the regulations that could change the way we understand top speed in modern Formula 1. But here's the problem. The car is sensitive, complex, and demands absolute precision to get into its optimal window. So the question is inevitable. Are we seeing the birth of the ultimate weapon for 2025? Or the start of a technical war that could set the paddock on fire before the season begins? The second day of week 2 in Bahrain did not start like any other day of testing. From the first runs it was clear that Ferrari was running a different program. They weren't just racking up laps. They were not hiding fuel load to make up times. They were validating something structural. Something that needed real filming, real speed, and total exposure on a straight line. When Lewis Hamilton hit the track, the SF-26 was no longer a car in the basic exploration phase. It was a car that was testing its definitive aerodynamic identity. And that's where everything changed. On Sakhir's main straight, the car's behavior no longer seemed conventional. It wasn't just a typical DRS activation. The rear wing rotation was visually more aggressive, deeper, more extreme. The moving element did not simply reduce the angle of attack. It completely transformed the orientation of the profile. Practically invested. That has enormous implications. Because a traditional spoiler, even with DRS open, still generates some structural resistance. Not here. Here the assembly was designed to turn off aerodynamically on a straight line. The rear load collapsed and the drag fell to unusual levels for this generation of single-seaters. What Vasseur reveals is that Ferrari was not just looking for top speed. I was looking for overall efficiency of the package. If you can eliminate as much drag on the straight, you can afford to load more wing when the system is closed. That is, you can design the car to be more aggressive in corners without paying the usual price on the straight. And that's exactly what day 2 was proving. In the long runs, the car showed stability in technical sectors. It was not a nervous Ferrari from the start. It didn't seem excessively light at the back in medium corners. That means that when the aileron was in the normal position, it was working with real load, with real support. But when it reached the straight, it transformed. The estimated gain of between 10 and 12 kilometers per hour is not just an eye-catching number. It is a strategic advantage. It's energy you don't need to spend. It is battery that you can reserve for defense or attack. It's efficiency that translates directly into career management. Now Vasseur was prudent. He didn't talk about revolution. He did not speak of a decisive advantage. He spoke about interpretation of the regulations. And there is the key. Ferrari has exploited the margin allowed by the active aero regulations for 2026. They have not added a part outside the regulations. They have taken rotation and mobile geometry to the maximum limit that the text allows. And that changes the game. Because in Formula 1, when someone finds a limit that others are not using, it is not just a technical improvement. It is a conceptual statement. However, day 2 also revealed something that we cannot ignore. Hamilton described the car as complex, sensitive, demanding in its operating window. That means that this spoiler does not work in isolation. It is deeply integrated with the car's overall balance, diffuser, dynamic rake, and hybrid power delivery. Such a system needs perfect synchronization. If the rotational moment is not aligned with the rear stability, the car can become unpredictable in transitions. And that, in qualifying or in the race, can cost crucial tenths. That's why the second day was so important. They weren't looking for headlines. They were looking for consistency, structural validation, response in medium and long batches. Confirmed that extreme rotation does not compromise stability during braking after a long straight line. And the most interesting thing is that they did not hide the concept. They executed him in plain sight. This can be interpreted in two ways. Either they are completely sure of its legality and solidity, or they want to force others to react late. On day 2 of week 2 in Bahrain, we saw a car that didn't try to be balanced in a traditional way. I was trying to be dual. Maximum load when it matters. Minimum resistance when appropriate. Because what Ferrari put on the track on the second day in Bahrain not only impacts the stopwatch, it impacts the balance of the championship before it even begins. When a team finds a gray area in the regulations and exploits it with this aggressiveness, The paddock does not react with admiration, it reacts with suspicion. And that is exactly what began to be felt during that day. The rear wing of the SF-26 is not simply a part that rotates more than the others. It is a concept that forces us to rethink how the entire car is designed. Because if you can eliminate almost all the drag on a straight line, your aerodynamic philosophy changes from the ground to the last millimeter of the beam wing. That means something very concrete. If it works, Ferrari forces others to redesign. Don't copy a small adjustment. Do not modify a flap. To reconsider its rear architecture. And in the preseason, time is the most scarce resource. Day 2 was not just technical validation. It was a political message. Ferrari was saying, "We have read the regulations differently." Now here comes the delicate part. The more extreme a concept is, the more fragile its integration can be. And Hamilton himself left an important clue when he talked about sensitivity and a narrow operating window. That, in technical language, means that the car needs very specific conditions to perform at its best. Correct temperature, ideal height, exact balance, precisely managed energy. If the wing rotates so aggressively, the car's center of pressure changes significantly on a straight line. And when you brake again at the end of that straight, everything must restabilize in milliseconds. That moment of transition is critical. And there is the real test that Ferrari was doing on that second day, checking that the car does not become unpredictable in the braking after extreme activation. If there is even the slightest instability, the pilot will feel it immediately. And if the pilot does not trust, he will not attack. Hamilton did not appear alarmed. But he didn't talk about a docile car either. He spoke of a demanding one. That opens up two scenarios. First scenario, Ferrari has found a weapon that, once perfected, can turn every long straight into an overtaking opportunity without sacrificing cornering load. Second scenario, the system is so fine in its balance that any variation in track, wind or temperature can take it out of its optimal point. And this is where the technical warfare begins before the first race. Because if rivals consider that the advantage is real, they have two paths: develop something similar, or pressure to revise the regulatory interpretation. The history of Formula One teaches us that when a disruptive innovation appears, it is not only fought in the wind tunnel. It is also fought in offices. But Ferrari seemed comfortable showing it. That suggests absolute confidence in the legality of the system. And that security is dangerous for others. Because if the concept is protected by regulations, the only option is to replicate it. And replicating it is not easy. It's not just about making a wing that rotates more. It's about integrating that movement into the rear aerodynamics, into the diffuser, into the hybrid delivery, and into the car's overall charging philosophy. That can't be done in 2 weeks. Day 2 in Bahrain may have been the moment when Ferrari stopped reacting to McLaren and Red Bull and started setting the technical pace. And if that is so, the impact will not only be seen in classification. It will be seen in how the races develop, in how the stints are managed, in how energy strategies are proposed. Imagine a scenario in which Hamilton can attack on the straight without penalizing the rest of the lap. Imagine that he can defend his position without wasting time in technical sectors because he carries more load when the wing is closed. That completely upsets the balance between efficiency and support. And the most disturbing thing for the rest of the paddock is that this happened before the first race. Day 2 of week 2 was no fluke. It was a statement of advanced preparation. Ferrari was not improvising. It was validating a concept that already seemed mature. Now the big question is not whether the spoiler is radical. We already know that. The question is whether the rest can respond before Ferrari capitalizes on that advantage in real points. Because in Formula One, when an innovation is detected in testing, the clock starts ticking for everyone. And if the SF-26 can turn that extreme efficiency into consistent results, Day 2 in Bahrain will not be remembered as a day of testing. Day 2 of week 2 in Bahrain did not give us a definitive timetable. He gave us something much more important, a sign. Ferrari is not playing to evolve what already existed. He's trying to redefine it. What Vasseur revealed was not a simple technical confirmation. It was a statement of strategic intent. The new rear spoiler is not an aggressive accessory. It is the center of a philosophy that seeks to completely separate cornering performance from straight-line performance. Maximum charge when the car needs it, minimal resistance when not. That, in theory, is the perfect balance. But Formula One is never just theory. Hamilton made it clear that the car is complex, sensitive, and demanding. That means the potential is there, but it still requires surgical precision. And in this sport, the difference between revolution and problem usually lies in the invisible details. If Ferrari manages to stabilize that operating window and make the extreme wing transition completely predictable, the SF-26 can become the most efficient car on the grid on long straights without sacrificing competitiveness in technical sectors. And that's not a marginal improvement. It is a structural advantage. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.